Hello, welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy. Different tree for a change. I thought this base of the tree would be nice, and I've got a bit more of an open sky in front of me. Perhaps I'll turn the camera around in a moment and show you the view. Hello. The dog's come to say hello. I don't think you'd be interested. It's not made of meat. I made a quick dash down to the John Lewis Food Hall, which is a reliable stalwart for those last minute ESW purchasers. I just usually go there with a complete open mind because the selection is a little bit different every time. It's not necessarily the same wines on offer. I take a look at what's good and maybe what's on special offer. That sometimes sways the decision. And I've ended up actually with a rosé. This was from the Rosé Fridge, which has all sorts of other non-English sparkling in there. Apparently other countries make sparkling wine, who knew? It's from Gusbourne. I've had a couple of wines from Gusbourne on the channel before. I don't think I've ever featured anything rosé from Gusbourne, and it's a 2018 vintage. 2018 was a fantastic year. I know that I say this every time like a broken record. Fantastic year for English sparkling wine and English wine in general. Really abundant crops and very ripe fruit, and hopefully there is little that can be done wrong in the winery to really mess that up. Gusbourne's vintage releases are often a little bit on the pricey side. They can be significantly north of 40 quid. I forget the exact price, so I'll put it on screen, but this was sort of 10 quid off or something, more or less thereabouts. So it was under 40, which is the sort of territory I'm happier to pay. Under 30 would be even better, of course, but it was 30 something. It reminds me, I did say I was going to show you the view. It's not particularly inspiring, but at least it's a bit of open sky. Sorry, terrible camera work. Nice to see some blue skies though, after yesterday particularly. Those of you following the other Tweedy channels know I was on a very wet hill in the Chilterns near Ivanhoe Beacon, and I still have a little bit of a runny nose. Apologies in advance for any sniffling. It's quite annoying, isn't it? Struggling a bit with that. It's good to have a scarf on hand for occasions like this. Not the most ambitious of pops, was it? That is a Diam cork. The camera won't focus on that, of course, but it's an MD5. I think that's a rating of 5 years. It's anticipated to be aged for. So this is actually slightly beyond, well, it wouldn't have been corked in 2018. It would have spent some time on the lees and all of that stuff. I haven't actually done my homework about the length of time lees aging. It does say here disgorged on, is that the 15th of June 2023 possibly? At the absolute most it would have spent 5 years on the lees, well, just under 5 years. Probably a little bit less because there would have been some tank fermentation at the start. I'm guessing it's 4+ years on the lees, which is, you know, a pretty decent amount of time. So that is a fairly pale rosé kind of colour, a sort of blush to rosé. So I suppose that is your classic mixture of orchard fruit, possibly, and berry fruit. There might be something like red apple maybe in there. I suppose raspberries, strawberries, that kind of thing. But quite a lot of appley kind of notes. Red apple. Red apple is something that can manifest from just purely Pinot Noir. I didn't check the cepage, the grape breakdown, but that could well be the case even if this is 100% Pinot Noir. But yeah, I think it would be fair to say there is also a background there of some berry fruit. It's got nice fine stream of bubbles there. A little bit of a mousse. That's obviously elapsed because I spent some time faffing around with the stopper and everything. Lovely on the palate. A lot more berry fruit than I could detect on the nose. Maybe it's because I've got a tiny bit of a runny nose, so for some reason I'm noticing the apple more on the nose. But on the palate, strawberries, raspberries, always tempted to say wild strawberries. And probably it's just regular strawberries here. Strawberries, raspberries, very, very fresh, really pronounced fruit character there. That's quite delightful actually, that palate. And the balance is really good. Certainly not overly sweet. That's always my slight, probably unfounded fear with rosés, that they're going to be a little bit too sweet. I think they've hit the balance brilliantly there. There is definitely a bit of zing, but it's certainly not searing, and there must be a little bit of sweetness there to carry that fruit for that red berry fruit character to express so pleasantly. I'm coming back to the nose now after taking a few sips. I think I am noticing that red berry fruit a lot more on the nose as well. There probably is more to it than that. I feel like that's not really doing it full justice, that short list of very common red berry fruit. But it's all the kind of really sweet, really ripe, really luscious red berry fruit. It's not the kind of slightly austere red currants and cranberries and those kind of things you get when there's some berry fruit expression but it isn't, you know, abundantly ripe like this is. And I feel like this is really showing off 2018, that extremely ripe year with those abundant harvests, when hopefully winemakers were able to be a bit more choosy and just keep the absolute best of the crop and not be too greedy and put everything in, whether it was perfectly ripe or not. I'll find out the dosage level if I can put that on screen, but I would imagine this is sort of in the middle of the Brut range to actually possibly a tiny bit above being bang on the middle. So is Brut 6 to 12? I'm guessing this is somewhere close to 10, but could be talking complete nonsense. A tiny bit sweeter than some other English sparklings, but I think it works perfectly here because it has that balance and it's expressing that fruit. I think sweetness is a really important part of actually helping you to identify and enjoy those kind of fruit characters. Well done, Gusbourne.